This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, nerds. I'm Mark Weber, and you are listening to A Graphic Conversation, the bi-weekly podcast where we read, discuss, and recommend the best, but hopefully not the worst, in graphic novels.
We discussed graphic novels?
Sometimes. I'm joined as I am, always, by good friend and original man-child, Ricky Widmer.
What's up, guys?
And in this one, we continue on this path that we are on with Why the Last Man, Volume 4, Safeword.
Didn't know what I was getting into with this one. I'm just going to say that.
When the title of it is Safeword, Ricky's like, I wonder what this will be about.
I did not expect what I got.
You're an innocent little boy.
I am a very innocent little boy, Mark.
So if you've never checked out A Graphic Conversation, this might be a weird one for you to come right in on because it's like part 4 here. But that's all right. Welcome. Glad you're here. What we do is we have read this particular graphic novel or trade paperback, most likely, because someone did call us out on the fact that they're actually almost always trade paperbacks.
Mark don't want people getting mad.
I don't care. And what happens is we read it, we talk about it. Usually there'll be a spoiler-free section. There will be a very teeny tiny baby spoiler-free section on this one because, I mean, it's volume 4. There's not much we can talk about without spoiling something. But after that, we will actually get into spoilers and we'll talk a little bit about it, give suggestions and things like that. To really quickly, in case someone's like, well, you guys have already read 4 volumes of this thing. It must be decent, right? Why the Last Man? Who is it for? Who would enjoy Why the Last Man?
So if you like apocalyptic type of movies, basically like end of the world situations, this is basically it. It's basically the story of the end of the world or like an almost apocalyptic event has happened. All the men are wiped out except for 1.
2.
And a monkey.
Yep, 1 and a monkey. And that's not really a spoiler. That's the premise. Yeah, if you like post-apocalyptic stuff, you're going to like it. If you like things where people walk a lot, you're
so
gonna like
if you
it.
like Lord of the Rings, you'll love this.
Right, very travelogue. But, I mean, it is very...
I also like the banter between like main character and side characters.
Yeah.
I heard there was rumors of this possibly becoming like a TV series on Netflix.
They've been
or something.
talking about that for a long time.
Cannot wait for it. Like
It's never going to happen.
You don't think it'll ever happen?
They've been talking about it for years.
Eventually, it's going to get greenlit by somebody.
Maybe. I mean, we're still waiting for Old Man's War to become a movie, and that's been over a decade, and that's actually a bestseller. So who knows when it'll happen? If it'll happen, there's a lot of things that we just are crossing our fingers for. This one is great, though. I mean, you do have some good dialogue. Can it be a little cheesy? Yes. Is it a little ridiculous at times? Sure. But it's fun. It's enjoyable, and if you want something fun and enjoyable with having a little bit of that dark edge to it at times, here you go.
And I thought I saw some recent news on it, just to throw it out there. It was ordered in February by FX, and it has a 2020 premiere date as of right now. So we will get a live TV series for Why the Last Man.
Interesting. I hope they...
Will they have Safeword in it? I hope so.
I hope they don't mess it up.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say, because... FX is good, but I don't know that I completely trust them.
Now it's owned by Disney.
Yeah. Disney owns everything. I don't know if I completely trust them, to be honest. Now, there's FX and there's FXX.
This is FX.
This is FX. Okay, cool. I don't know what the difference between the two is.
Usually FXX was like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, The League, The Simpsons.
The
like
funny
that
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming this is going to be slightly more edgy. You guys learned a lot today on this podcast. Thank you for checking it out. But so we said who it's kind of for. It's a lot of fun. There's not really. Do you have anything you can say without spoiling anything?
With this one, I would just say I keep loving the progression of shoot, I'm forgetting the name. I want to say Elric, but that's not right. Yorick.
Yeah.
Of Urich's development throughout this entire thing, where it kind of feels like it gets more and more comfortable each issue or each volume we read when it comes to Y the Last Man.
Yeah, and I think one thing I will say that's interesting. I just put Y the Last Man in here, and immediately it pops up with the title, or with TV. But anyways, I just wanted to get character names because we're both pretty bad with character names, but I want to not mess things up. Anyways, I think one thing that's nice about this as well is really the character development throughout the whole thing. They do a really good job of making these characters actually go through some stuff. You understand them. They seem real. And that's missed out on in a lot of graphic novels and comics. So we're going to jump right to it. We're going to make the spoilers happen. Not yet, though, so you don't have to worry. If you want to check this out, you can pause it in just a moment. I will tell you when to pause. Don't worry about that. But you don't have to. You don't have to read it. You don't have to have even heard of it until today. You can just be here for the conversation. Maybe that inspires you later to go check it out. Cool. It's not like we're going to go through page by page and tell you every single thing that happens. So there'll still be some surprises for you.
Copyright's a bitch.
Right? So you can definitely do that. And if you want to actually read it and you don't want us to spoil anything, you should probably press pause right now. Because now we're in the spoiler zone.
Hey, I'll wait as long as you want, baby. I'll wait as long as you want.
So, okay, so with this one, the thing I want to say, I mean, I think you have one direction you want to go, but the thing I want to say about this is I feel like one thing that's kind of been lacking is like Yorick's just kind of going through the motions and kind of being moved around like a pawn and making dumb decisions. We finally have Yorick feeling like somebody who is a living, breathing person.
So are you talking about the early part of the story?
I'm talking about
Safeword part.
I'm talking about that, but I'm also talking about survivor's guilt.
Okay.
Too. That like he's so much more fleshed out. Because really Yorick so far has just been his mom's the president, his sister is against him, his girlfriend's in Australia, he's got a monkey, and he's kind of funny. Like, that's really all we've really had about Yorick, and he's the main character. Now it's like, oh, here's a lot more information about him, past, future, what he's struggling with, why he makes such dumb decisions. I mean, I love that from a deep standpoint of, like, dealing with the survivor's guilt of, I'm the only one left, and I don't know why. Why the last man? I love that it goes into that because that gives you some depth to the character and lets you go, oh, this is why he's constantly trying to get himself killed, even if he doesn't necessarily realize it. It kind of fleshed him out a little bit, which I really appreciate.
Also in this one, I feel like Agent 355, she was kind of like a extra bad, like you got to see her as an extra badass in this one, because after what happened with the whole like, whoa, they're going to a BDSM place that I didn't know they were going to go to. I even like the second storyline where they find the outsider in Queensbrook, Arizona. And it's basically like, hey, Yorick, you stay here while myself and Dr. Mann go to kind of talk to this kind of radical military all-female group.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, if we bring you, they're going to die. And I believe that Mann goes by herself at first, gets kidnapped, and then Agent 355, who they kind of have a little lesbian thing going on, she's kind of like, well, I got to go all super secret spy, kind of slash some nets, got to stab someone with like a lethal injection, it seems like, blow some kneecaps out to try to save Allison Mann from this like I don't want to say alt-right, but like this militaristic all-female group that they're inhabiting, who's basically blocking off everything to the west. It's just saying, you know what? You got to come through us if you want to get anything to California.
Exactly. And we run into that a lot in this whole thing of these militant groups. And, you know, that's the kind of thing where, yes, it's totally, that's probably what would happen. It's realistic that you'll just get these groups that band up and try and just take control. And that's pretty cool. I mean, you get some good throughout the whole Y the Last Man. You have good like action and fighting things. How do you like Agent 711?
Here, I mean, it's okay. Like, that to me was like the whole, you're talking about she stayed with Yorick, right? I totally thought they were going to do a thing where it was so close to where I'm like, ooh, is Yorick going to fall in love with her? Is Yorick going to like kind of change of plans and have that like, well, you know what? This girl that I've got in Australia, am I ever going to get to Australia? Like, realistically, planes, I don't see many going overhead. I'm the last man. Am I going to get on the plane to get over there? I thought they were so close to like pushing the button to where when she got shot in the open, I was like, oh no. I was like, well, there goes that kind of a thing. Right. And they can't kind of have that kind of love relationship go on between her and Urich.
Yeah. And I like that. I liked it, you know, I went back to the Survivor's Guild thing, and I like that she's kind of there helping him out with it. Partially, I mean, you sit there and you go like, okay, we just kind of introduce this character for the sole purpose of helping Yorick, which is fine. It's fine. I mean, you maybe would hope that like 355 would be the one who does it, or Dr. Mann, because you like those relationships that he has built with them already. But you know, I do kind of enjoy the fact that some random person comes in here and goes, that dude's trying to get himself killed. Yeah. You guys know that, right? So, I don't know. I like the whole 7-Eleven part.
Like, and it basically, to me, was like, eventually, and I know there's other issues on top of this, one of my biggest questions going forward is not whether or not Yorick and his girlfriend are going to be together. It's at what point does Urich give up on that love?
Yeah, exactly.
If he ever does. Or will he die taking that to the grave?
Maybe, but I feel like he kind of has to give up. He's caught in this rock in a hard place of like, part of the whole reason we're doing stuff is to get to her as well as like, you know, trying to figure out what's going on in Dr. Mann's research lab. But the other thing is like,
I forget, have they mentioned that this is worldwide or is this just a U.S. thing?
I'm pretty sure it is worldwide, but I don't think they really know. For sure,
because all like comms are down and stuff. Because who's to know what's been going on over there in Australia?
Yeah, but they do kind of know because there was the group. What were they from? The Israel.
Oh yeah, true. Good point.
Who were from Israel? Who were over? So there's obviously something. Thing. Yeah, and then they had the people, the astronaut and the cosmonaut. Yeah, and that became a whole thing. Trying to get their guy back. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely more to it than that. And the interesting thing though with that is he is, you know, like I said, he's caught in that spot, but he can't really give up on it. But he's got some stuff kind of building with other female characters here. You know, it's the kind of thing where you kind of feel like at any minute he's gonna have to deal with that. I got to make a choice here. Maybe I just accept and move on.
There's hunker down with somebody.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, it's a story, so the girlfriend's got to show up at some point, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I could totally see it where we never see her, and it's basically nothing comes from like. I wonder if that's the case. Will that be a kind of pointless storyline? Will that be
if he gives up on her?
No, not even that. Like, I feel like giving up on her is a decision made in that storyline.
And that's character growth, potentially.
If just nothing happens, where not just he doesn't give up. Let's say he lives and doesn't die, but we never see her.
And we never get any closure or anything.
Exactly. If
he doesn't choose to move on.
Yeah. If there's no choice, there's no death, and it's just kind of left open, then to me, I'd feel like, well,
be disappointing.
Why? I mean, it depends on what happens in the story, but like, I feel like eventually he's just going to give up and just be like, you know what? I got to move on. Because maybe this is the first kind of experience to where later on he'll think back to this. Like, hey,
could be.
I had something there with this chick. Like, there are good people here.
Yeah.
Here's a question I have, and I don't know if this is, when I say this, I don't mean it to come off insensitive.
Okay.
It's a thought that I had in my head because I look at this story written by Brian Vaughn, who's obviously a guy.
Yep.
You've got the art by Pia and Jose, and with it being written from a guy's standpoint, is that the reason why every single all-female group that we've gone to, there's like no bit of like logic at all, where it's just like very hard, like even this group where it's like, hey, I'm a girl, I'm not even a guy, I'm a girl, I'm here to talk, and it's always like, how quickly can we pull out our guns and have a conflict and an argument? Like,
yeah,
is that
totally.
is that because it's coming from a guy's point of view writing it? Or is that because it's like, I don't like what I'm going to is because of all the guys being gone, why is there like no logic between these groups and stuff?
And it's like, you know, is the writer Vaughn coming in and just being like, bitches be crazy,
basically,
you know? And I think there's a certain extent where you can kind of read that out of this.
Even Hero and her group is the same thing, where it's like, hey, no talk, we're gonna kill you now.
The only group that was of women so far, I mean, they're all groups of women that have been normal, was the ex-cons.
Yeah.
They were the only normal one because they were just like, we're just living our normal life. Like, life's good. Like, we're just going to hang out. They were the only kind of normal ones. And to an extent, I think it's realistic of the fact that you're just going to have to kind of be violent in this type of situation because it's all going to be power struggles. People are always going to be trying to take over and kind of get under your, or take over your area, your territory. And
the government is kind of just irrelevant.
It's gone,
now.
You're your own small little tribal government, essentially. And there is, to an extent, the lack of trust that you're going to have naturally for it. So I think that's good, but I do definitely think it does at times border on the, like, can we have, like, some normal women in this thing? Besides, we have two. We got, like, two normal women who are, like, main characters who don't get killed. All the other, like, normal women throughout this whole thing basically end up dead.
Like, I thought of it in this one with that Arizona group where it was just like...
Or like another one, really?
Everything is yelling. Even like with Dr. Mann, where it's basically like, all right, we're going to take turns beating the crap out of her, trying to interrogate her. And it's like, come on, can't there be one group that's not like, hey, let's try to beat the shit out of this person because everyone's evil? Because like in the world... Obviously, and maybe I'm coming at it from like a bird's eye view. Like if I was in the situation, maybe I would be different.
Yeah.
But it's like that situation of like, not everyone in the world is evil. I get the whole people might be out there to trick you, but you don't have to be so brash right from the start. Like even in The Walking Dead, there were times where Rick and them would come up to groups and Rick would be the one that's kind of standoffish.
Yeah.
But there were some groups where it was like not an argument. It was like whoa, partner, stay right there. Let's have a conversation with this distance and then kind of make sure what decision we're going to make.
Yeah, and it is that kind of thing of like, is it kind of one note where it's just like, the only thing that we're going for is meet a group, they're bad. We got to stop them. Meet this group, they're also bad. We got to stop them.
Like, is that the
go over
trope
here
of
and now
this
they're bad
comic?
Yeah, and like to an extent, I mean, there's some reality to it where that's kind of probably how things would be. But yeah, I totally agree that like it's a little much. Can you give us some variety? Can one of these groups not be the same as all the other ones? Something's got to be different, right?
Because I would love to have a group where it was basically, instead of like, let's say, so confrontational, very friendly and inviting. And then by the time you're in, basically like a governor situation.
Yeah.
You can come on in, be one of us, but then it's like, all right, this guy's not right. Like this chick leading the place ain't right. Something's wrong here, Rick. We got to get out of here.
And maybe Vaughn feels like it would have been too similar.
To other things.
Yeah, and maybe he was doing that intentionally. Maybe it's coming up. You know, we've got like 2 more of these things, I think. These big collections. There's 60 volumes of it, and we're at like 23 or something.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit left to go. So there's definitely more still to come. So we might get to some of that stuff. But yeah, I totally think that there does need to be something different. It's like I've said about, and it's a little different, but with Morning Glories. Morning Glories, for anyone listening or watching who isn't aware.
I don't think we're ever going to get back to that,
we're
by
not.
the way. Okay.
We're not. I'm over it. You know, the thing about Morning Glories was it had the same thing over and over again. The same thing over and over again in that case was we're going to give you all these weird things going on. We're going to raise all these questions, and we're not going to actually answer any of them. But you're going to keep coming back because you really want these questions answered. But we're going to keep waiting.
Yeah.
You know, and we're like, so that was one thing where this one is very much of like their same thing over and over again is like they get in here and it's a bad guy, you know.
Because we're on Safeword, which was 4. There's Ring of Truth, which is volume 5. Girl on Girl, which is volume 6. Paper Dolls, volume 7. Kimono Dragons, number 8. Motherland is 9, and then Whys and Wherefores are 10.
Yeah.
So we're like, what, just getting to the halfway point of this series?
Yeah. Sure doesn't feel like it. So there's definitely more to come. It's got to change. It's got to be different at some point. But I totally agree with you. You got to give us something different at some point to keep going on there. Because, you know, I don't do this for all of them. Occasionally, I like to look at other people's reviews to see if like there's anything we blatantly miss or anything. And it's also nice to see the general feeling about it too. And this one's kind of mixed, where a lot of people are like, "Oh, this just got so much better," and then there's a nice chunk of other people who are like, "Yeah, I don't see this really getting any better. It's same old, same old. I'm kind of done."
Yeah,
you know, and you're kind of getting a little mix between the two. These two different camps of people who are, this is kind of a breaking point where they're in love with it or they're kind of falling off of it. I'm not at a point reading this where I'm like, I'm done, where I was with Morning Glories.
Well, the thing with Morning Glories that for you, like, if you came up and were like, hey, we're going to give it one more, I'd be like, sure. Because the thing with Morning Glories that intrigues me is I like the what the fuckness.
Yeah.
From Morning Glories. But, like you said, it's been how many issues, and we don't get any answers.
Eventually, you got to answer something significant.
And we've got no answers.
They only raise more questions. It's a whole sheet.
Who's David?
I've been asking it since the first, I think like the
who's
first
David?
issue.
That was the first one.
Yeah, I mean, you just end up coming up with the list. It's all the people, because we have to mention Game of Thrones on every podcast nowadays.
Yep.
It's all the people on Game of Thrones who are like, they didn't answer this. What about that? What happened with this? Why is this going on? That's how I feel with
Morning Glories.
With Morning Glories. It's like I have a running list and none of it's been answered. So it gets a little tiring in that case. I don't feel that way with Why the Last Man. We haven't gotten to that point yet where I'm just like, man, what's going on?
And the thing I can think of is for the ones that are like, oh my God, this was so, with this issue, why it was so different, was basically that first half with the BDSM stuff, that storyline.
Yeah.
We got to see into Urich's consciousness.
Yeah, we're like,
what's
Urich's
going
gonna
on
bang.
with him. Yeah, well, not just
Good
that.
for him.
But like, what's going on in his head where you were like, oh, that's why he does all this shit. Because he's just trying to kill himself. Like, hey, if I do this stupid stuff, maybe I die. And then I die, it's all over.
Yep.
And it's basically like trying to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Without trying to put the gun to your head yourself.
Yep, exactly. That's why 7-Eleven was a big important part here, because she's like, anybody else realize that this guy's trying to get himself killed? No, anyone realize this? Because somebody's got to help him out here.
Yeah.
And she does. She does help him out. She helps him to kind of acknowledge and deal with some of that. Is it completely done? I don't think so. I think there's still quite a bit left to that. And there'll be more dumb decisions on his part. But yeah, that's the thing I liked about that. With the people who fall more in love with it, I think it's because, one, it did get a little edgier in some senses. It got a little darker, but it just rounded everybody out. All of a sudden, we feel like these are real characters with real emotions and real motivations of why they're, you know, the problem with Yorick is so far, like I said earlier, it's just, he's just like a piece that's getting moved around the board. You know, he doesn't really do anything significant himself except for get into stupid situations and almost die. And like, there's only so much of that where you're like, wow, this character's just dumb. But no, it's not that he's dumb. He's doing it on purpose. He doesn't necessarily realize he's doing it on purpose always, but he is. And that's significant, and that helps out a lot, I think.
Here's another question for me, because maybe they answered this and I missed it. But at the end of that storyline, because we know that Agent 355 gave Urich basically to the chick and was like, hey, we're going to go leave. He's with you now. And then these hooded figures come in with silencers, silenced pistols, and basically murder her at the end. Do you think that's like a all right, now here's another group we're going to have to worry about, and we'll find out who they are later.
I would guess so. Yeah, I would guess that's kind of almost cliffhanger-ish of like, hey,
Like,
this is going to be an issue.
Is this the group that her and 355 used to be a part of?
Could be. I think they're kind of building something up. Because if you think about it, too, they've just been traveling. And, like, they don't have a core enemy. We thought it might be
Except for Hero.
Well, we thought it might be Hero, but Hero kind of got pushed to the side a little bit.
She's on the trail, though.
She is, but she's kind of... They've already dealt with her once. I don't think that makes her too significant. To where it's like, maybe this is going to be our true enemy. You know, I feel like we got to have a real enemy at some point instead of just here, there.
With him and Hero, it's her and him basically resurrecting their relationship, then maybe going after a common baddie together.
Yeah.
Or it's not, or maybe it's like
I think that would make sense.
Her and Hero.
I would expect her to have kind of a redemption arc at some point. And like they kind of got to some flashbacks and built some depth of characters in this one. I would be surprised if we didn't see that with Hero. If we didn't see why she went the way she did more concrete and really figure that out and get some of that relationship with them.
Because in this one, we see it basically right at the beginning. With kind of like a younger Hero and Urich, where it's basically like, hey, you got to like go in and talk to your grandfather. Why do I want to talk to the grandfather kind of a thing? And there's kind of a back and forth, and Urich kind of sticking his tongue at her like, nah, kind of a thing, because he gets to go in there and talk to him first.
Yeah.
I hope you both get AIDS.
Maybe.
Good old Hero.
Maybe. I just kind of, you know, I'm very interested to see like where they build it, because so far you do kind of feel like this is all just set. And like, is it a Walking Dead thing where it's like the group goes here, they deal with the problem. The group then goes there, they deal with the problem. Now the group's over here, the problem's even worse, but they deal with it. You know, Walking Dead always had that very video game level feeling to it of here's level 1, here's level 2, we got to deal with this boss. Now level 3 has this boss, which is even more difficult. This so far has that same type of feeling. If we go here, we deal with this.
Yeah.
And I would love to see, they don't have to sit down and stay somewhere, but I would love to see kind of more of a build up of like one thing would be nice.
The one thing I find funny is when he's talking to his grandpa, and it's like, hey, being the only guy in here must be like really fun with all these girls around. You crazy? It's hell on earth. Ain't nothing worse than ladies in numbers. And the grandfather says, someday you'll understand.
And then he does.
Well, I guess Yorick understands.
He does, because what's the moral of the story, Ricky? You brought it up. Bitches be crazy.
Bitches, like even at the beginning when it's like they're on the horses, and basically Yorick's like, you want me to kill this horse? Leave us the F alone.
Yeah. I just kind of like, I'm glad you bring it up. I am curious. I don't really know much about Brian Vaughn, but I'm interested to be like, is this something that he's been criticized for in the past? Like, what is his other works like? Because he's written a ton of stuff. Marvel, DC, Vertigo, Image, Dark Horse. He's got, he's made the rounds. I am interested to know, are some of these like things that he's been criticized for in the past?
You know what we completely forgot about as I'm flipping through this? The whole like repressed memory from Urich of the older boy who basically raped him.
Oh yeah.
Basically that's what happened. Like I think they were referring to a blowjob, but like, I mean, it was still not consensual. And even like as he's tied up in present day, is crying after having that memory brought to life. Yeah.
Very realistic. And those are the things where oh, we're getting dark now. Like we're going in that direction. It's very, 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 very lighthearted the whole time.
Do you think this was planned by 355 of basically like, hey, I'm going to have him spend time with her. I don't know what's going to come out, but basically Urich needs to be right. Like he needs to be right in the head. And we basically need to have these memories of whatever oppression that he has locked up in his head. That needs to come out so he can better deal with it.
It's possible.
Because like we totally don't get the whole situation of why he was left there in the first place.
Yeah, and I don't know that it'll be explained. It might just be for convenience sake.
Just to give us a plot to know more about what's going on in Urich's head.
Yeah, and to give us a different section that we can have. I mean, the group's kind of split up a little bit. We got to have different things going on. It might be kind of a convenient, like, oh, yeah, sure. That sounds right. But, yeah, I think that it could potentially be. No guarantees.
I can't wait to... This one I can't wait to read more of. Unlike Morning Glories, I have these questions, but I don't feel like, hey, these are not getting answered. Like, some are getting answered, and then we get more questions, and it makes me want to read more.
Yeah, and I'd still definitely want to know, like, if we get an actual answer to what happened. That would be nice.
I don't think we're getting that till the very end.
I don't know if we'll even get it.
You think it'll be open-ended?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Okay.
So I think we both would recommend this to people. You would kind of want to read the rest
from the beginning.
So you're no longer, if you're on YouTube, you're no longer looking at our faces, which is fine because we're basically at the end anyways. But Ricky's got you. Don't worry. So here's the thing: we want you guys to come back for the next one. We want you to join us for more. And the next one's going to be a fun one. Because who do we get to deal with? Spider-Man. And who doesn't love Spider-Man? And, of course, the Sinister Six. I got to wait till this loads so I can tell you a little bit about what we're doing next. But we're going to read Spider-Man Sinister Six, Marvel Premiere Classic. Nice. Just tell you guys a little bit about that. When still in high school, the Amazing Spider-Man faced one of his most chilling challenges when 6 of his most nerve-wracking nemeses formed a cabal of crime. I love it. The Sinister Six. Years later, Doc Ock reunites the team for his most remarkable racket yet, and time has made them deadlier than ever. Gonna be a fun one.
I can't wait for it. It's also coming out because of Marvel Studios. It's going to be coming out 3 days after the movie now instead of right on the movie.
Fun.
Because apparently Marvel is like, hey, it's going to come out July 5th. Oh, wait, we don't like that. It's coming out the 2nd. So it's going to come out before July 4th,
which is
not
weird.
The day after.
Which is very weird.
So it's going to come out on a Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, that's strange. Like, what is this, an album? Coming out on a
video
Tuesday? Yeah, music and video games come out on Tuesdays, but a lot of video games come out on Fridays now,
true.
Too. So what are you doing? Changing things up here. I don't think we've read a bad Spider-Man one yet, so let's hope that continues.
Favorite Spider-Man, 1, 2, on the count of 3, Mark, 1, 2, 3.
Spider Island. It's the best. You guys should watch that episode if you can find it.
You got to go searching in the deep dark webs for that.
Exactly. So I hope we'll see you again. Why the Last Man's fun. Go back, read it from the beginning, and there's more episodes about it that you can enjoy. But we'll see you guys in 2 weeks when we read Spider-Man Sinister Six.